Welcome back to Always Learning. What are we doing today? Well, today we're learning how to take, when you got bubbling paint on your door, how to fix that. And our door faces west, and so it gets a lot of sun. Some people have said that because we've got a storm door on there, that heat will get trapped in there. And if you don't allow your paint to cure, or you're painting over, maybe you put an interior paint on, you're painting over the exterior, or you're adding oil and you're painting over, you're gonna get some bubbling issues. So I basically took different sandpaper and 20, 60, 40, and sanded those out to make them smooth. And this has a grain in it, so I'm gonna go ahead and paint with a brush. If it doesn't have a grain, then you probably wanna come back and come over with a roller. But I'm just gonna paint it with the grains going this way and see if I can't make it go away. I'm not taking the hardware off. I'm gonna take a smaller brush and just delicately go around those and try to paint it on there. Some of the other things I've done is I've put a piece of cardboard underneath it, so in case I drip, I don't have to worry about it. And then you can use a shim, but I just use an old shoe. So I'll show you how to do it, and hope that takes care of it. So on this door, I've got grain running this way, running this way, running this way, running this way, and then these run up and down. So I'm gonna try to paint. It dries pretty quickly. You can put this stuff called Floetrol or fluid, and it'll let your paint dry slower, but it dries pretty quick, so I'm gonna just work pretty quick. And for the most part, keep it along those grain lines. So if you got a bubbling problem and it's not resolved by you letting the paint actually cure for a long enough period before you expose it to sun and to moisture, then it's probably a couple different things. It's most likely you've got maybe an adherence problem. So sand it down in those areas that are really bad, and then come back with like an Extreme Bond or some kind of primer that's got a good hold, that when you put the new paint on there, or the new coat of paint on there, it should be able to adhere to that bonded primer better, and so it should reduce your bubbling problem. I tried that, mine still bubbled, so I just sanded it down. I'm going to really let it cure this time. If not, I'm going to come back and sand it down, and then try to get a heat gun where I actually burn the wood and try to seal everything in. So I'll keep you posted on how that's going, but there's a lot of different things that can cause it. But usually if you sand it down, paint it, and let it cure for a long period of time, maybe 12 to 24 hours before you shut the door, you should prevent bubbling in your door. So the main thing you want to do when you're painting is just keep that brush moving and keep that paint thin, so it's not going to drip later on. But make sure it's wet while you're doing it, and just, like I said, keep it moving and keep it with the grain, and you should get a pretty good response with it. If you overlap, then just come back and just quickly hit that area where you're going with the grain again. And when you're cutting into these little bump outs or windows, just make sure you go thin with the paint. I usually try to touch the middle first to take the paint off my brush, because these are areas that will typically drip the most. So always keep your eye on those to come back and hit them with the paint, and then come back and kind of touch them up again, just to make sure you got a smooth, even coat that's not going to drip. Then last, I'm going to come back and paint the sides vertically, and then come back with a smaller brush and just cut around the hardware. You could take it off, but I'm just going to simply do this one very delicately. If you're putting on a couple coats, probably makes sense to go ahead and take the hardware off. This stuff dries really quick. If you're gonna go slow, I would probably get the Floetrol. I'll put a link in the description below, but it'll help slow it down. Might be called Fluid. I think it is Fluid. So last, I'm just gonna take this little tiny baby paintbrush and just get it on there, and then lightly just go around. There you have it. Just do that all the way around the lock. Like I said, you could take it off, but this required a little more. It'd take me longer to take it off than it will just to come around it. But like I said, if you're doing 2 or 3 coats, probably makes sense. And just kind of blend it in. All right, there you go. That's how you paint a door. I'm gonna let this cure. I'm probably gonna actually leave it open for 24 hours so it won't get any sun. It can actually dry and get maybe cured. That way when I turn it to face the sun, it won't, maybe it'll bubble up, but we'll see. Should do it. Thanks for watching.